Welcome to Work It, Live It, Own It, a show that explores how to upgrade your lifestyle through life lessons, real estate, and entrepreneurship. Here's your hostess, SaCola Lehr.
Hello there. I am Connie Ward with Incredible Realty Group, here with SaCola Lehr with Epic Realty. And we are here today to talk to you about and dispel some myths around the NAR proposed lawsuit settlement and some of the key things to look out for and what it means for you as a buyer and or seller navigating the current market and the environment that we are in. So thank you for joining us today, and we are just going to jump right in.
Absolutely. Because we're here to allay some of the fears or myths behind what's happening and what people are talking about all over social media, the news. We want to give it to you straight from a realtor's perspective.
Right. So we're going to give you all of the tea today. And so, SaCola, let's maybe start out with from the seller perspective.
Okay.
And also kind of maybe touch on how things have been handled in North Carolina for many, many years. And so this transition, depending upon what direction and what the final outcome is, maybe a little bit smoother for states like North Carolina and the other 17 states that have already had agency and compensation transparency in place for many years. As you know, I originally got my license in 1997, and we had agency agreements and compensation transparency back then and even prior to that. So I think that's important for, consumers out there to understand that while this is kind of a blanket lawsuit that's covering every part of the country, all states have not handled agency or have had the policies, procedures, and processes in place that some states have. So I think we're special in North Carolina, and we're one of the lucky ones that this transaction is not going to be as maybe scary or frustrating or anxiety filled or ridden as some other states may be experiencing right now.
Right. Because I think everybody's just listening to the hoopla in the media and because I've seen it in my market. I don't know about you. I'm in the Triad market. I kind of border that with Mebane, North Carolina to Greensboro, North Carolina. And you're in the Charlotte metro and the surrounding areas in North Carolina. What I have seen the rise and increase is for sale by owners, also known as FSBOs in my market. And what I want to say to that is a lot of the for sale by owners that I have spoken to, even some of my friends who said, you know what, I don't want to pay all those fees. And look, that's legitimate. First of all, let me just say this. Everything in real estate is pretty much negotiable. Now, your attorney's fees, they're not negotiable. You paying your prorated HOA taxes when it's time to settle and close, those are not negotiable. You're going to have to pay those regardless. Excise tax, if you're a seller, you're going to have to pay for those. There is no wiggle room around that. However, when it comes to your commissions, paying out to brokerages, whether it's the listing agent's firm or the buyer's agent's firm, there is some negotiations on that part. And so we just want to let you know, for me personally, I can't speak for every other realtor, but for me, I always tell my clients the 3 Ds. I disclose, I discuss, but you decide. The 3 Ds: disclose, discuss, decide. That's for sellers and buyers. One thing I will say about working with a realtor is, too, if you're putting your home on the market yourself, you may not be aware of all the disclosures that you need to fill out and complete with accuracy to the best of your knowledge. If your home is a certain age, there's another disclosure for that. Another thing is that when you are putting your home out there on the market and you start receiving offers, you may not already have, and because it's not open to the public, what an offer looks like, because our forms change every single year. I know since I've been in real estate, every single year, disclosures, we have a new disclosure coming out in July 1 that has changed and updated and it has been revised. So if you're putting your home out there on the market, you're going to have to go back and do some more work, or the buyer's agent's going to say, do you have the updated disclosures? We're missing this disclosure. or you're looking at an offer and you may not know what those terms mean. So working with a realtor who is going to be standing in your corner to help you negotiate, to help you go through and disclose the types of offers that you are receiving on the table and presenting what could possibly be the best fit for you. Ultimately, again, you decide, you make those decisions. But again, I've had a friend, I told him up front what disclosures he needed to have. Even after he was done with the process, I asked him, I said, "Are you ready to be a realtor now?" And he said, "Oh God, no. I don't want to do
Right.
what you
Yeah.
do."
Hmm.
And so they have no idea. I know reality shows make it seem so glossy, easy, breezy, but we got the boots on the ground. We're here to work and represent you. And another thing, Connie, I want to say is if you are not selling your home for yourself and you are working with a listing agent, particularly in North Carolina, this is something I do. And Connie, I'm pretty sure you do this as well, is provide in the listing conversation that I have with sellers is to show them and disclose to them what they could potentially net in the transaction. So this is just a sample of what we call the seller estimated net sheet. A realtor has gone through, done some research. You provide what the mortgage payoff is. If you have a first mortgage, second mortgage, home equity line of credit, HOA fees, all of that, what potential attorney's fees you will have to pay from the seller's point of view, your prorated HOAs, your taxes, recording the deed or transferring the deed, you have to pay a fee for that. Your excise tax, you're going to have to pay for those things as a seller. Then as you scroll down, if you decide if your home hasn't been in great condition or there's been some deferred maintenance, maybe potentially doing a pest inspection or home inspection. So you already know the condition of your home when you're selling it. But in this estimate here at the bottom, this is just an estimate. This is a possibility of what you could walk away with. In this estimate sheet, Connie, can you scroll up for me just a little bit? It will show you the commission that a realtor could receive. And I always tell my clients this, guys, I don't get all that money. It's split 50-50. Typically, in most cases, 50-50 in half. One is going to go to the listing brokerage, and the other one is going to go to the buyer's brokerage for the buyer bringing a willing, ready, and able buyer. Okay. Then, if you really want to break that down, and which I normally do, and guys, even half of that, I may not get. Now, Connie, you're different because you have your own firm. So you facilitate how that money is divvied out, whether you're paying someone to help you on the back end. But say someone like me who's working with a brokerage, guess what? Even 50% of that, a fee or percentage of that is going to the brokerage first. Then I get the rest of that. So, and that is to protect you because you have a firm who is knowledgeable, you have an agent who's knowledgeable, a realtor who's knowledgeable to represent you, to negotiate for you, to be accountable for funds, making sure that monies are getting where they need to be, making sure that we're reaching the deadline in a timely manner to negotiate on your behalf in a legal and ethical manner. So, always when you're having a listing discussion, if you're thinking about putting your home on the market, if you don't see some seller estimate sheet, ask for one. You have the right. Ask for one. Transparency, honesty, that's what I go by. That's how I work. That's where I thrive. And that's how I get a lot of my seller clients because if they ask me a question, I'm going to be honest with them. And I'll tell them, I don't know everything in this business. Every transaction, every situation is different. But if I don't know, I know how to ask. People like Connie, I'll ask her.
Right.
She's been in real estate since the 90s, since the late 90s. I will ask. I will call the commission. I will ask. So don't always go by the shiny object syndrome when it comes to a realtor who's going to do that. Look for the boots on the ground. What are you bringing to the table? What can I possibly walk away with? Okay. Because they've already done their research and saying, okay, based on comps, this is what three scenarios, possible scenarios of what you could list your home for. And this is what you could potentially walk away with. So we're not your enemy. Okay. Not all realtors are your enemy, but I will say, please just be open enough to still have those conversations and find out which realtor would be the best fit for you. And if at the end of the day, you're still not satisfied and you still want to try this and go out on your own, then go ahead, but make sure you have all the disclosures. And I know for the sample offer to purchase, you can't get that on the web. You have to get that from a realtor. So make sure you're doing everything above board either way. And if you have someone like me, I'm going to already tell you what your essential documentation needs to be. This is what, Connie, you've seen this before. This is my magazine. This is what I give to sellers. I always tell them what they need to have before they even put their home on the market. And so those are some things that sellers don't think about as well. But then again, that's why you need to have a trusted advisor by your side, representing you all the way to the finish line and beyond that.
Absolutely. I mean, I echo all of those sentiments, facts, and relevant, pertinent information. Um, and I just would want to add to this. I think that the internet obviously has changed our lives, right?
Mhm.
So consumers have access to so much information now, and almost too much information, because everyone feels like they're a guru or they can attend YouTube University and become a guru. And I've done many things. I've learned many skills via YouTube, right? Especially when I'm looking to save money because I'm a frugal person. I understand that. But there are certain things that I do not touch. I do not touch electricity and I do not touch water. But I may do a DIY, I may install some flooring or paint a wall. But there are certain things where the skill set required, the licensing, and also the person that is practicing a particular thing on a daily basis is always going to have wisdom, knowledge, insight, and discernment that you will never have.
Mhm.
So that is something you cannot get from the internet. And I feel like there's so much coming at us, right, from a media perspective, like you talked about. There's things in the news, and we've seen a lot of things that are actually being reported incorrectly. And we are not out here saying that none of this is true. We didn't do any of that because there were some bad apples, right? Just like every other industry. But I personally don't believe that this is just this blanket thing that every single real estate professional has done. I think we've seen this in other industries. And there's other factors that have influenced just the mindset of people with reality TV and shows and the internet that makes it appear that our jobs are really easy and simple, and we only post pictures of houses online and we unlock doors and we fill out a couple of forms. And I'm here to tell you, even though I practice real estate and I had a gap in between, and have done other things and back to real estate, the totality of it is about 25 ish years that I've been in this space in some capacity, is that I've sold or participated in the sale of hundreds of transactions, right? And all of them have some nuance, something that's unique about it because it involves humans.
Mhm.
In anything that has the human element, the factor, you're going to have, whether it's personalities, whether it's circumstances, whether it's something with the property or the people, there's going to be something that's unique about that situation. And because we do this on a daily basis, because we practice real estate, just like by no means am I comparing us to doctors, but doctors practice medicine, attorneys practice law, right? We are practicing and we're using case studies. We're using, our experience that we've had in other transactions. And this is just something that the average person is not going to have. And when something arises that is out of the norm that you didn't see on TikTok, then you're going to potentially be in trouble. And so I think that, we have to keep these things in mind because I firmly believe that the actual crux, the meat of the transaction begins after going under contract, right? I think most of us would agree that many real estate agents, we can market homes, we can post pictures, we can do all the things to get a home market ready, right? To make it as marketable and appealing to the most people that are fit that criteria for that home as possible. But it takes a certain level of skill to get that property from contract to the closing table. All the things that happen in between that space can be very complex. They can be stressful. There can be a lot of unknowns, things that pop up. Just one simple random example. A last transaction I had a unrecorded shared driveway situation that could have completely derailed the entire transaction. Literally hours upon hours, days upon days of calling, studying, trying to find the owner of the property next door, because there could have been a potential easement situation, or it could have been an encroachment situation. So these are the type of things that come up that the average person is not going to be able to handle. And attorneys are involved in real estate transactions, but there are certain things that they don't do. So I've seen on the internet where people say, oh, all we need to do is get an attorney. The attorney, yeah, for sure, can help you with the actual contract, the legalities of that, maybe keeping you out of hot water. But an attorney is not going to do all of the things that a real estate agent does for a flat, low minimum fee that people might think that they can get an attorney to do. It's going to be, they don't have enough manpower or hours to even facilitate a whole entire real estate transaction. So I feel like people are disillusioned if they think, oh, an attorney is going to do all of these things, because it's just not possible. And I don't think that they would get it at the price that they think that they will get it. So that's one thing. The other thing is, we're helping you navigate and facilitate this process, right? We're kind of like the conductors, the orchestrators, and we're helping you navigate all the ebbs and flow and the twists and turns that happen throughout this transaction. And we do have that duty to discover and disclose material facts. And what are material facts? How are you supposed to know what a material fact is? Because you want to protect yourself, right? You want to be protected. And the only way to do that is, in my opinion, is to partner with a professional that has had enough experience and that insight to help you navigate the unknown. And then when things do pop up, guess what we have? We have the Real Estate Commission. We have our governing bodies. We have other industry professionals. We have other brokers, other real estate agents that we can tap into, and we have on speed dial that the average consumer is not going to have. So commissions have always been negotiable. They are negotiable. Every single listing I've ever had, we negotiate that commission. There is no flat fee. So I think for us, that's not something that's going to change. But I think it's very important that now the things that we try to shield the general public from, because that's what our job was, we took on all the stress and the burden of smoothing out all the kinks, and we keep you in the loop. And obviously we're going to be transparent and provide the critical information, but there are so many things that are resolved within, a day or a couple of hours or a few minutes because we've made 5 phone calls. We're not showing you all of these things or even telling you all these things because we fixed it. So those things that could have been a problem have been resolved, but all you see is the beginning and the end. Oh, hey, here's this pretty house. Oh, hey, it's under contract. Oh, close, cha-ching, now I got all this money, right? We don't show you all of the things that happen within that window, right? We didn't talk about the repair negotiation process. What happens? What happens if the house does not appraise? Protecting our clients from losing money, such as buyers losing their due diligence money, and all the things that we proactively do to help protect you. There's numerous things that happen in a transaction that I think people don't have an awareness of because we're good at what we do. And when you're working with a experienced good agent, then it might seem like it was easy, but trust me, they lost sleep. They might have shed a few tears during that process that you never knew about. And I could go on and on to the break of dawn on this particular topic, but I think there's just so much that has been unknown, and there just hasn't been any visibility into it. And now it's like we're going to be telling them all the things. And I think in a couple of months, actually, I think the general public is going to be telling us, okay, enough. We tired of hearing about all the
Right.
10,000 things that you do
Mhm.
in a transaction, because we haven't really been talking about that.
Mhm. And I've seen it on social media about all the list of things that realtors do and bring to
Hmm.
the table, but ultimately it's what we do to protect you as a seller. And now we're going to shift over and talk about the things that realtors do to protect buyers.
Hmm. And this is my jam. I
I
just
have a
love my
sweet
buyer.
spot. I love my
Ooh,
buyers. I just love them, especially first time home buyers and even those who have
the
been in a
repeat
home for a
buyers. Yeah.
while. Right, because you sell a home, that side of the transaction looks totally different when it's
Hmm.
time to buy.
Yep.
So, Connie, what is the best way that as a realtor you have found to represent buyers is, I don't know about you, but is to make sure that they are prepared. I firmly believe on both sides that it's important to have a stress less transaction. I can't guarantee
As
you
stressless as
that
possible.
all the
Yep.
stress is going to be taken off your shoulders.
Hmm.
And I usually tell buyers when they're anxious, I'm like, wait, just take all of that, put it on me. I'll
Hmm.
take care of it. I'll handle it. And if there's something that I've hit a bump in the road, usually I tell my clients, I'm going to keep you in the loop, but I'm going to tell you here was the situation, but I'm going to tell you what I did to kind of help allay that and remedy that. And here are our next steps. And again, this is that part: disclose, discuss, and then they decide how the buyer wants to proceed and move.
And sometimes I love the 3 Ds, right?
Hmm.
The disclose, discuss, and decide.
Hmm.
And when I'm having my consultations, especially, buyers and sellers, I say this a lot. I have a lot of catchphrases that I make up, but I tell them, you're the boss, right?
Hmm.
You make all of the decisions. It is not up to me to force you, to convince you, or to tell you what to do.
Hmm.
My role is to provide you with the information that you need, educate and empower you to make the most informed decisions possible pertaining to your role in this transaction as a buyer or a seller. That's my role. And you're the principal. In those agreements, they're the principal. So who is the principal? Principal is the person that's in charge. The principal is the one that's calling the shots and making all of the decisions and also negotiating our fees with us. You have pretty much all of the power because we have a fiduciary responsibility and duty to you. And you are, again, the principal, the boss, the chief, the head person in charge. As long as you don't ask me to do anything illegal, immoral, or unethical, I
Hmm.
will follow your direction, and your decisions are your decisions. My job is to give you all of the information that you need to help you make those decisions. So I think that's really key in all of this, is that we're not calling the shots and making the decisions.
Mm-mm. On either side.
You're deciding.
Yeah. You
Yes, always.
always
Always.
make the final decision. Even if I may think something is great and that may be the best option, I will
Hmm.
say, "What do you think? What are your thoughts
What are your
on
thoughts?
this?" And then we're like, and then sometimes I come in, "Well, what do you think?" Well, based on the research, based on this, I think you
Based
have
on
some
the
good options
data,
here.
right?
Right.
Yeah. Hmm.
I present data on both sides, but you mentioned something very key. I do buyer consultations as well. And a
Hmm.
lot of times, and this is not a knock against other people, how they run their business, but that's how I like to run my business because one, I want to make sure that we are a good fit. I am running a business. I want to
Hmm.
make sure that we are a good fit.
Right.
Am I a
Yep.
good fit to be your trusted advisor?
Hmm.
Are you a good fit to be my client? Because one thing, like you said, we are the expertise in our area. And if I have a client who's like, well, no, I want to do this, I want to do that. Well, then, okay, that's great. But then
Right.
I may pick that up in a consultation. As a buyer, you may pick up, may not be the right realtor for me. So a lot of times when you're searching online and you come across a realtor, and you say, hey, I want to see this home. First and foremost, what I would advise anyone to do when you are thinking about buying a home, from the moment you're thinking, dreaming, planning about buying a home, is one, get your finances straight. Start saving some money.
That's a whole other
That's a whole nother conversation. We've
video.
done a video on that already. I think we talked about the 10 things you should not do
Right.
when you're
Right.
applying for a mortgage loan, but plan and prepare. And during those times, whether you're hopping in your car to meet up with a realtor to see a home for the very first time too, I want to make sure that please be pre-approved.
Can I just pause you for just a moment? Because you touched on a lot of things. And
Eh,
when we're talking about buyers, SaCola and I have been accountability partners for 3 years now? We meet every single
Going
week
on
and we've
4.
had
It's
a
going on
lot of
4.
conversations.
Yes.
And some of these things are hot buttons, and not hot in the sense of like being upset, but
Right.
because I'm very passionate about these things. And we do not hop into cars to show homes.
Mm-mm.
I think as real estate professionals, there's several things that should be happening before we ever get to that point. But I
That
do
part.
want to point out that I think with the internet and with some of the misconceptions and lack of understanding about our roles, and also on our part, us trying not to be pushy, overwhelming salespeople,
Mm-hmm.
that there were maybe some of us that did things out of order because we didn't want to turn you off. We didn't want to scare you. We didn't want to start talking about documents and making it seem like you are committed to us, upon first sight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we kind of, in some ways, the collective, allowed you to be in the driver's seat when you technically should be a passenger. And I think that has caused some of the issues that we have. And so I want to point out the fact that, like you said, I know I'm not everybody's jam. And that's
Right.
totally fine. It does not hurt my feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not everybody's jam. And that's
Right.
cool. And that's why it's so important to have that initial conversation that
Mm-hmm.
may or may not lead to a consultation, which may lead to then you becoming a client and not a customer. Because until we actually are in a relationship and we go together, you are a customer. You are not my client. And there are certain
Right.
things that I do not owe you as a consumer, right? I'm to be honest and to treat you fairly.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't owe you that fiduciary responsibility or even privacy, right?
Right.
In certain aspects, if we are not partnered up in that agency relationship. And I think that's one of the ways where in North Carolina, we're special and unique because we have always had, as far as back as I can remember, agency and agency agreements, and also the compensation and how we get paid, how much our fee is, and who we're expecting to pay us is all written out in that document.
Right.
And so we go from the initial conversation
Mm-hmm.
to a consultation. And ideally, we're going to meet face to face like this on Zoom or in person so that we can get a sense for each other and we could get to know one another before we start asking you your deep, dark secrets, right?
Right.
So that's the purpose of that consultation. And then we want to talk to you about some of the legalities of engaging a real estate agent versus you calling us or from some of the well known websites and expecting us to jump in the car and meet a stranger that we don't know that is ready, willing, and able, qualified, that you have the resources, the cash or otherwise to purchase a property, right? And for a safety perspective, it's not safe to jump in your vehicle and meet complete strangers at a home that may be in an area that's not populated. And I think for people to expect us to essentially risk our lives because we don't want to have this conversation that can be awkward
Mm-hmm.
early in the process. So I've always conducted myself that way as you have, having those initial consultations and conversations and deciding, are we a good fit? Do we actually want to form a partnership before I jump in my vehicle and use my time, talent, resources, and risk my life,
Mm-hmm.
because that is a fact that this is a dangerous space
Yes.
for us to operate in, and we should not be expected to risk our lives to show a home to a stranger, to a person we do not know, right? And we want to be bringing buyers into homes who are potential candidates to purchase, not just looking for the sake of looking. These are people's private, personal homes that they may even still live in. So all of those things are things that I think the general public does not think about into taking consideration that, oh, I just feel like going to look at houses that may or may not be in my price point, and that's okay. So it's not okay in a lot of categories and for a lot of reasons. And in North Carolina, we have what's called working with real estate agents disclosure. This is something that's supposed to happen and is required, right, upon substantial contact.
What does that
And
mean? Let's
we get
talk
to
about that.
substantial contact really quickly.
Yes, because
Really
you
quickly.
start, a lot of buyers will start off by saying, well, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. I'm looking for this amount of square feet. I make this amount of money. First of all,
My credit is
stop,
this and this
stop,
and
stop,
what?
stop,
Time
stop.
out.
Do not, look, this is a hot topic. I'm not getting upset, but I
Listen,
want to drive this
I
point
gotta
home.
fan
I
myself.
want to drive this point home to you all. The moment you start talking about your financial abilities, what you're looking for in your dream home, that is when a realtor, and I know it may seem awkward, but that's when a realtor will have to go, okay, let me explain to you how agency works in North Carolina. Because when Connie said that we do not have any loyalty to you, she's showing the brochure. I'm probably going to put this as a bonus on my podcast as well, but it's called the Working with Real Estate Agents brochure. That's what we have in North Carolina. We have it for buyers and we have it for sellers, because we want to explain to you how agency works in North Carolina. First and foremost, when Connie said we don't have a loyalty to you, if you show up again at an open house that I may be showing, okay, for my firm, listen to me now, for my firm, and you've already told me information and you are already working with another realtor and not with me, you did not sign a buyer's agency agreement with me, don't you know I could go back and tell the listing agent all of your business? Because you have you have exposed yourself, you have put yourself out there, and you have given personal financial information to someone who does not have a legal, ethical, fiduciary duty to you as a client. When we say agreements, buyer's agency agreement, something we've had in North Carolina for a very long time, it protects you as a client. It protects me as your trusted advisor, because my firm or Connie's firm is representing you. So please make sure.
And
And
you
I tell
should
my
be
buyer
receiving
clients
this.
this, you
There is
should be
also a
receiving it.
one-page document
You
that is a
sign it.
working with real estate agents disclosure that you sign.
Yes.
If you are not receiving, not necessarily this brochure, because this brochure is something that you could
Yeah.
have a link to and download yourself. We could provide it to you in PDF format, or I like to give people the actual physical that
Mm-hmm.
they can see, touch, and feel. And this has so many Q&A questions and answers and information in it. But we do give that disclosure up front that
Mm-hmm.
you sign as an acknowledgement of receipt and that we
Yeah.
discussed and disclosed this to you. It does not obligate you to work with us. But before we jump in a car and show you a home, you should have received a working with real estate agents disclosure every single time, every single agent. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times that's not something that's happening, which is, part of the hot water that some of us may have gotten into. But it's very important to know this information and understand and not perceive that as us trying to force ourselves onto you to sell you something. It is for your protection. These are consumer protection
Mm-hmm.
procedures and guidelines to keep you safe and to make sure that your best interests are always at the forefront. And so as we were talking about, once we have that initial conversation and we're moving into a consultation and we're discussing agency with you, and then we're deciding, and maybe we're not deciding that day, and maybe we're potentially going to a agency agreement for that one property. So you don't have to go into an agency agreement
Right.
with me forever and ever and ever, right? It
Right.
could be for that specific property until we've gotten more comfortable and we've
Mm-hmm.
decided that we want to move forward. Different agents handle it different ways, but after the first or second conversation, I feel like if you cannot decide if I'm your jam, then I'm probably not. And you probably need to move on and find someone else that closely aligns with whatever it is that you're looking for,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's from a personality perspective, style, or whatever it may be. And that's totally fine. But just understand that a lot of these things are in place to protect you and to keep you empowered and informed and not to harm you. And I think that's the area that kind of got a little murky because we didn't want to scare you away by doing this upon that first substantial context. Like, can you show me a house? Bam, sign this, look at this, read this. And you're like, we just met.
Right.
But
And it
we
comes
need to
across overbearing and
slow
pushy.
down
Yeah.
this process because this is a huge decision. This is, for most of us, the largest financial decision we're going to make in our entire lifetime. And so it's super important. It's not like play, just casually. So it's not necessarily even about just the money or not necessarily even about our time, but taking this very seriously and handling it the way that it should be handled. And I think that's what we're able to now move forward in, because now this whole can of worms has been opened, and I think it's a great thing. I
Me
think it's a
too.
great
It
thing for
sheds some
agents
light.
and for consumers because I think it is going to shed a lot of light on the unknowns and dispel a lot of the things that you've seen on reality TV and social media.
One other point I just want to add for buyers as well. Do not be surprised if an agent, before they even get in their car and show you a home, because every agent operates their business, runs
Mm-hmm.
it differently. Some will hop in a car because you call them up and say, hey, I want to see this house. Okay. Do not be surprised if there are some agents, even me, even after I do a buyer's consultation, I'll tell them straight up, I need a copy of your ID.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I need a copy of a valid driver's license or some form of ID for me to know who you are. You are who you say you are. That is a protection for us,
Yep.
but it's also a protection for you because there is a lot of fraud going on right now. And some people have even gotten savvy. We're getting a photo ID. But as a realtor, we also have ways to do a little more digging and finding out, okay, is this the person who they say they really truly are? That is a protection. And I tell my clients that all the time. Even if you are selling your home, I'm going to ask for your ID
Mm-hmm.
because it may not be your home.
Right.
I had a relative reach out to me about a rental property they were interested in. She forwarded me the email. I did some digging. I found out that that is not the owner's name
Mm-hmm. Yep. It
and
happens
that
all
that
the
home,
time. Mm-hmm.
right. And I said, well, let me see. Do you have a copy of the lease agreement? It was something that somebody had downloaded off online. And I typed a response for her and I said, send this back to them and see what the response is.
Mm-hmm.
It was complete fraud. They were trying to rent out someone's home. So that part where you are
And
seeing that on
collect a
national,
deposit,
and
and
collect
you'll
the
never hear
deposit,
from them ever
you'll
again.
never hear from them again. And
Mm-hmm.
you think you're going to get ready to move into this
Mm-hmm.
place, and people and the owners are looking at you like you're crazy. So don't be surprised. We are going to ask for ID. We're going to still do a little bit more digging and make sure
Mm-hmm.
you are who you say you are. That is a protection for us, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also a protection for you. And
SaCola, you know
yes,
what? I know we probably weren't planning to talk about this,
okay.
or even to go into this level of detail, but I think this is just so important. There are a couple of things, and I don't want to forget because it just popped into my mind about our compensation, right? That it's negotiable on the buyer side and the seller side. And also, real estate agents, especially on the seller side, we are typically the one taking all the risk, right? Because we have upfront expenses, right? We may spend, you know, upwards of a few $1,000s to market a home, right?
Mhm.
And we are not compensated until we
The
reach the
end.
closing table, the
Yes.
very end, and the documents are signed and the deed is transferred. So we're being expected to do all of these things essentially for zero compensation up front,
Mhm.
right? And then provide all of these services, and we potentially, in the end, are out of some money, out of pocket funds, and our time, talent, and resources, right? So we're putting forth a lot of risk to serve the clients that we are trying to help. So I think quite often people look at us like, oh, they make a lot of money, they're money grabbing. We do have a lot of expenses. People don't realize we're full-fledged business owners, right? We are entrepreneurs, we're business owners. There's no check on Friday, right? There's nobody that's it's paying us for our services until we've completely performed a lot of services for our clients. So that's one thing that I think people don't understand or don't know about, or maybe they overlook it. And so we're taking on this risk, right, to help you market your home ultimately with the goal of getting it sold and closed. So we have a vested interest in getting you to the finish line as well. And we can often be the glue that holds a transaction together, because guess what's inside of a transaction? Personalities. And sometimes they clash. And sometimes buyers and sellers will be literally out in the front yard duking it out if there were not real estate agents in place to help facilitate and help people kind of stay in their respective corners. So that's something that we're also very good at and we're skilled at and that we help with, because I will tell you, with a buyer and a seller potentially trying to go at this on their own, not to say that you can't, okay, because it happens. But on a large scale, a lot of transactions wouldn't make it to the closing table because of just personality, egos, and things like that will interfere with this process. So we're kind of like the referees, right? So that's from the seller perspective. On the buyer side, it's always been a thing, or for as long as I can remember, and I know I've said that many times, but real estate agents could have charged retainer fees, right, inside of their agency agreements since the beginning of time.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because in the North Carolina Buyers Agency Agreement, there is a line on the first page that talks about a fee. And I do know that there are realtors in other states. There are realtors here in North Carolina, teams that will charge a transaction fee, or what they may call an administration fee. And that is legally, ethically correct, because it's in the documents. And a realtor can do that. But I want you to think about this from the buyer's perspective. We're getting in a car. Gas, mileage, time to show you homes. Then submitting offers on your behalf. Researching the properties, doing the comps, then helping you, advising you on the type of offer that may be, or even calling up the listing agent, trying to get some insight on what it is that can make your offer stand out. All of that, we're not getting paid for until if you decide, okay, this is the house, and then the offer gets accepted. And then a buyer's agent will typically get reimbursed once the closing has taken place and the deed has been recorded. Just know, with this lawsuit, you may encounter more buyer's agents who may have in their buyer's agency a transaction fee.
And that upfront, potentially
and
non-refundable retainer fee.
Non-refundable
And the
upfront.
reason why I wanted to talk about the retainer fee is because, one, across the board, this has been something that agents have not wanted to do for years. Okay, guys, I've been licensed for over 25 years, okay? From the day I got my license in 1997, that retainer fee line item has been on the buyer agency agreement. And in most instances, and I can confidently say this, it's zero. Okay. And because that's another area where we were trying to protect you, to be friendly and to be nice and to try to not scare you away. Now this whole can of worms has opened and we're like, you know what? Wait a minute. We've been providing you with all of these services and all the things for $0, but yet we're spending money to help you get to being under contract, to buying the home that fits your family's needs, your dreams, whatever it is, your generational wealth, and all of the things that owning real estate can provide. And we're doing that with no skin in the game from our clients, because we're basically putting forth the risk, and we're also using our time, talent, resources, right, our money to help you. And so I think what's going to happen too is real estate agents are going to start charging those retainer fees. That's going to become the norm. I personally am figuring out the adjustments that I'm going to make from my brokerage, and that retainer fee can be credited to you at closing. If you make it to closing, then it will be credited to you. So it's not money that you lose like a sock in the dryer, but it may be non-refundable if you don't close. And I think that is fair. And I think that it's reasonable. And I think that you should start to prepare yourselves and expect to see this. It's not new. It's not
Right.
unusual. Some agents have practiced this for many, many years, but most didn't. Because again, we were trying not to scare you away and we wanted to earn your trust and we wanted you to like us and all of that. But I think now that this is at the forefront, is putting us in the position to where now these are the things that we can openly talk about without fear that now you think that we're scammy and we're just trying to get money from you. Right. So I think
Right.
that this is one of the many reasons why I'm kind of excited about. Of course, I don't like the space that we are in the real estate industry, but I think some of these things are going to be good for consumers and for real estate professionals as well. And there'll be some things that we don't like on both sides, but we're going to get through that and we're going to navigate it and we're going to have a new norm that is going to be okay. So that's the retainer fee. And then, of course, talking about the buyer agent compensation, how we're compensated, who compensates us, whether it's the buyer, the seller, or a combination thereof. So those are some things that you can expect to start seeing now, and to start also adjusting your mindset about.
Right.
So
I
I know
think this is
that'll.
something that, like you said, it opened up a lot of worms, but it also
Hmm.
makes realtors reevaluate their business practices
Right.
all around.
Exactly. Yep.
And it's going to, our conversations are going to be different, are going
Hmm.
to sound different when it comes to speaking with sellers and buyers. So to close this out, because we talked about a lot of information
Yeah, a
today,
lot. Yeah.
but it was because we're passionate about helping people. I want to be coming from a place of service. I never operate out of scarcity and lack. I'm not going to hound people down. That's not what I do.
Right.
I don't
Yep.
like to be hounded. So I'm not going to hound you. But if you are thinking about buying or selling your home and you would like more information, please don't hesitate to email me at info@workitliveitownit.com. And I have 2 magazines here. One is for the buyers, your home buy guide, and then the other one is sold. All the things that you need to know
Hmm.
before putting your home on the market. And I know sometimes when relocation, are you trying to run and hide from the federal government? Just
Hmm.
joking about that. But
Yes.
you got to sell
Yes.
it real quick for whatever reason, personal reasons. There are some things that can help you to get your home ready so it can sell in a timely manner. And Connie, how can they reach out to you?
You can find me in all the places at either Cake and Real Estate
Mhm,
or ConnieWardRealtor.com is my website. You can find me on social. My phone number is there, my email address. You can email me. You can hit me up in the DMs. However, you need to get in touch with me, even just to have that initial conversation.
mhm,
Now, I do have those for, obviously,
mhm.
no charge
Right, right.
conversations, right?
Yes.
My DMs, my phone, text messages are
Mhm,
always open
mm,
for consumers that have questions, concern, or just need a little bit of guidance, whether you become my client or not. So that's
mhm.
ConnieWardRealtor.com.
And likewise, anytime you guys need to reach out, all my handles are work it, live it, own it. Instagram, Facebook.
Hmm.
Don't hesitate. There's no question too large, too small. If I don't know the answer, I will try and find it out for you. But it would probably be best, like Connie said, is to have a sit down conversation or consultation to see where you are, to see where you need to go. If you need to plan out a little bit longer for on the buying side, that's okay. And anything to keep it moving for you, if you need to sell your home in a timely manner, whether it's because of estate reasons or relationships change or family situation dynamics change, we're here to be a service and to help you in the state
I
of
have
North
one
Carolina.
last
And Connie's
shameless
in
plug.
South Carolina now, right?
Oh,
Connie,
yeah.
you're in
Oh,
South
yes.
Carolina.
Licensed in both North and South Carolina. And I have a shameless plug, too, that I wanted to mention. All the ways that you can contact me. And you can find this on my socials and on my website. But I offer a free virtual home buyer class every single month on the third Thursday at 7 p.m. via Zoom. Sometimes I will have additional classes, but you can rely on that every third Thursday at 7 p.m. class at Home Buyer Class NC You do not have to be my client to attend this class. I have other real estate agents' clients attend my homebuyer classes all the time just for general information, because it may be the timing may be right, before they can have that consultation or conversation with them, and it just gives you a general overview. So don't feel like you have to be my client to attend. Just let me know who your agent is, because I have a lot of relationship with agents all over the country, and I probably know who they are. But again, that's homebuyerclassnc.com. And actually, I have a class tonight at 7 p.m. So hopefully I will see some of you guys there. And we just look forward to continuing this conversation.
Exactly. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and staying with us all this while. We didn't mean for this conversation to take this long. However, we wanted to share some insightful things with you from the realtor's perspective, realtors that care, realtors that want you to achieve that homeownership dream and to take your homeownership to the next level, whether it's upscaling, downsizing, whatever it may be. All right, this is SaCola Lehr and Connie Ward signing off. Everyone, take care. Bye, guys.